What's happening, guys? Welcome back. We're diving back into a IPA that is not a Michigan beer, but guys, it is Cincinnati's version of Michigan's Two Hearted. That's what I've been told. So this is Truth from Rhinegeist Brewery, Cincinnati made. Again, it's called Truth, which is clocking in at 7.2% ABV. Fun fact, I've been to this brewery. I went quite a few years ago at this point. Maybe it was 2019. Awesome brewery, really big. You could tell they can and distribute very far and wide. This is newly available to Michigan distribution, at least in northern Michigan, so I had to get my hands on it. Disclaimer, I may or may not have had this. I did a full flight that day. I don't really remember what I had, but again, they call this their version of Two Hearted in Cincinnati. So again, 7.2%, Cincy made, Truth, and fresh beer, considering it's come from a different state, 2/2/23. So today's the 25th time of recording. I like that, about 3 weeks fresh. Let's dive in. A lot of my Cincy people come in vacation in northern Michigan, so shout out to the Cincy folks, man. And shout out CP, man, my boy. Okay. Again, really cool brewery. Glad we can get distribution. I bet Two Hearted might be threatened by this, or Bell's could be threatened by this, because again, why do you want another IPA that's non-Michigan in your territory? You don't. So, is this good? We will find out today. Dark, almost a pale yellow, but you get that golden kind of juicy orange in the mix. It looks kind of pretty, looks like a pale ale kind of thing. A little bit darker to this viewpoint than mine, but pillowy, bright white head sitting on top. Very, very dense, very sudsy, very foamy. Looks great. Good carbonation. Really good carbonation streaming to the top. Let's go to an aroma. Wow, it smells nice. Did you tell it's quite hopped up? I'm trying to remember. Centennial, Amarillo, Citra, Simcoe. I think those are the hops that are in this. Don't quote me, but I believe that's what's in this. You do get a little kiss of the floral coming from that Centennial. You get this nice, like, lemony peach kind of popping out underneath all that Centennial as well, but it's not a Two Hearted. It's not. It doesn't smell like it either. It's got that maltier category, characteristic. It's quite piney. It's got that sweet honey pine, again, reminding me of Two Hearted, but it's not. It doesn't come across that way. This would be like Two Hearted and Black Rock's 51K, kind of a version of that, somewhere in between, and it kind of reminds me of that by the malty body. Very, very citrusy, very kind of tropical, stone peachy. Pretty vibrant, pretty darn vibrant. Maybe some navel orange. Smells good. A little bit of grapefruit. Let's dive in. Truth. Let's check it out, Cincy. Cheers. Ooh. Wow. A lot more bitter than I thought. This tastes nothing like Two Hearted. Centennial, not nearly as present as a Two Hearted. I know that's not the same beer. It's just what the distributor told me, that it's their version of it. Okay, well, it's not. The Centennial comes through, but not to that level. It's not 100% Centennial hops. The Citra, okay, you're getting a little bit of that citrus, a little bit of this candied peach, a little bit of like this touch of mango, but the bitterness, it's quite bitter and piney on the back end. Maybe some Amarillo showing itself a little bit. Centennial flexing a little bit with that bittering. Let's go for a little drink again. Doesn't come across as malty as Two Hearted. It's a little bit less malty, a little bit less full body, but it is 7.2%, so it's actually higher ABV than Two Hearted. Again, if you've had Black Rock's 51K, this reminds me a lot of that. There's a lot of those qualities in here, like sort of like an all-day IPA, a Two Hearted, and a 51K from Black Rock's, kind of all mixed together, if you guys understand what those beers taste like. Really giving me quite a few notes of resemblance from those guys, all combined. Peachy, watery cantaloupe, watery grapefruit, candied piney orange, man. Wow. And then just a touch of like earthy floral, just a little bit, but it's because of that like intense bitterness on the back end, man. A really good IPA. This is like almost an old school IPA mixed with new. and it kind of like highlights all the malty complexes of old style, while still showing you the refreshing qualities of like new hops, new age hops. You know, that Citra, the bursty, fruity, honey hoppiness that comes through, just really vibrant, and it kind of pairs that together between new and old school. Really good. It's really good. It's actually extremely crushable at 7.2%. I'd say this is more drinkable than Two Hearted because it's just not as malty. Sometimes I like a little bit less malt body driven into my beers. But I'd say Two Hearted's probably more flavorful using only one hop variety. But this is a nice marriage of hops going on. It's very tamed and watered down compared to, again, your big body Two Hearted 7%er. This one, it drinks more like a 5.8, 6.2%, and again, 7.2. Yeah. Man. Again, that bitter pininess, really flexing. It almost reminds me of Huma, too, from Shorts, on the back end, just for a split second. Not as bitter, not as resinous. But, gosh, it's a good beer. It's a really good IPA. I think this could compete with just about anybody out there, especially in wide distribution, for being a Mid-American IPA. It's good, man. West Coast, East Coast, hybrid, Mid-American, whatever you want to say. Doing the best of all. I'm going to go with a solid 3.98 out of 5. It's almost to the 4, but in today's measures, over 4s are harder to get, a little bit harder to rank, and should be a little bit crazier of a beer. So very good. Old school back in the day, probably rate this like a 4.2, 4.3. Today, 3.98. Thanks for being here. It's been Truth from Rhinegeist. Over and out, guys. Cheers.